In politics, there is a moment when everyone in the room knows it's over. The polls know it, the party knows it, the press know it, even the man himself, somewhere in a quiet corner of his mind, knows it. For Keir Starmer, that moment has arrived. He is still standing. He is still in Downing Street. He is still insisting he won't walk away. But make no mistake, the countdown has started. And before it ends, things are going to get considerably worse. This is the story of a prime minister in his final chapter. And what a bleak, extraordinary chapter it is. Let's start with where we are, because the numbers alone tell a story of historic failure. Starmer's approval rating fell from 5% after the election to -46% by November last year. -46. That is not unpopular. That is a rejection. That is the British public, including millions who voted for him just 18 months ago, delivering a verdict. A YouGov poll in February found that 51% of respondents thought Starmer was either more sleazy or as sleazy as Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson, the man who threw parties during lockdown, the man who became the national symbol of political dishonesty. And half of Britain now looks at Keir Starmer, the former director of public prosecutions, the man who ran on integrity and honesty, and thinks, same as him, maybe worse. Political analysis firm Eurasia Group puts the probability of a leadership challenge and Starmer's removal from office this year at 80%. 80%. That's not a warning, that's a sentence. And at the center of it all, one name, Peter Mandelson. The release of further Epstein files triggered a series of events that left Starmer fighting for his political life, despite the fact that he never knew the late financier and sex offender personally. That's the remarkable thing. Starmer didn't know Epstein. He never met him, but he appointed the man who did as Britain's most senior diplomat in Washington, and then admitted he knew about the connection when he made the appointment. Documents and emails suggest Mandelson may have received payments from Epstein and passed sensitive information to him during the 2008 financial crisis while serving as Britain's business secretary. UK police have launched a criminal investigation over suspected misconduct in public office linked to Mandelson's relationship with Epstein. A criminal investigation into Britain's former ambassador to Washington, appointed personally by the Prime Minister. The consequences inside Downing Street were swift and brutal. The Mandelson scandal led to the resignation of Starmer's chief of staff, Morgan McSweeney, on the 8th of February, followed by his director of communications, Tim Allen, the very next day. In the space of 48 hours, Starmer lost the two people most responsible for running his political operation. The engine room of Downing Street, gone. And then came Gorton and Denton, and if the Mandelson affair was the wound, this was the infection setting in. Labour won the Gorton and Denton seat with almost 51% of the vote in the July 2024 general election when Starmer swept to power. A safe seat, a heartland seat, a Labour seat Labour has held for nearly a century. The Green Party candidate, Hannah Spencer, received 40.7% of the vote, handing the Greens their first ever by-election victory. Labour didn't just lose this seat, they were routed in it, and not by reform, not by the Tories, but by a party to their left, by voters who didn't drift right, but who felt so betrayed, so abandoned, that they walked into a polling booth and voted Green in a constituency that has returned Labour MPs since before most of its residents were born. Bloomberg put it plainly, the strategy that brought Keir Starmer to Downing Street ran out of road this week. Its architects have left the building. The architects gone, the strategy dead, the majority crumbling. So, what happens now? This is the part nobody in Westminster wants to say out loud, but let's say it. Labour has been hollowed out. There is no obvious successor. Andy Burnham is frustrated by being kept out of contention. Starmer has depleted the ranks of anyone able, and there is no successor in sight. Among the names being floated are Angela Rayner, who has already resigned in a tax scandal, Wes Streeting, and Ed Miliband. Ed Miliband, the man the party itself rejected in 2015. That's the depth of the leadership bench, and the timing couldn't be worse. Labour faces the 2026 local elections, the Scottish Parliament elections, and the Senate elections, all with polling numbers that spell catastrophe. May's local elections were already going to be painful. Now they threaten to be a bloodshed. Every lost council seat, every ward that falls to Reform or the Greens will be another nail, another MP doing the math, another shadow minister measuring the curtains. Labour members of Parliament described the mood in the governing party as febrile and mutinous. One minister said only the fact that Starmer's rivals have reasons to hold back is keeping him in post. When those reasons evaporate, and after May's elections they will, the dam breaks. Here is the cruel irony of Keir Starmer's story. He spent 5 years dragging Labour back from the abyss of the Corbyn years. He won a landslide. He walked into Downing Street with a majority of 174, the biggest Labour majority since Tony Blair. He had the mandate, he had the moment, he had the chance. And he squandered it. Pension tax grabs, a benefits bill out of control, a defense void exposed by a Middle East crisis, a navy that can't protect its own bases, an economy flatlining, an ambassador scandal that opened the door to Epstein, to criminal investigations, and to questions about his most basic judgment. What was once a symbol of working-class power has become, under Starmer's direction, a technical machine dishing out half measures and tepid reforms that failed to solve structural problems. He told his MPs he had won every fight he'd ever been in, that he wasn't prepared to walk away, that he wouldn't plunge the country into chaos. But here is the truth. The chaos is already here. It arrived on the day he appointed Peter Mandelson. It deepened every time he told us the plan was working. It accelerated with every drone that hit a British base while our ships sat in port. And it will reach its conclusion, probably sooner than anyone in Downing Street wants to admit, when the Labour Party finally decides it has suffered enough. Keir Starmer is not finished yet, but the finishing has begun.